For my answer.
Your answer. The ratio. Now, the ratio of 1 to 500 is an international standard which, applies to law enforcement officers, that to provide adequate services to the community for which you are supposed to render that service, there must be at least a minimum number for which you can be able to handle, attend to. And that's why the UN,
United Nations.
Yeah, the United Nations Security Committee came up with that guideline of setting standards. That at least, it is just like when you are a teacher, when you are a doctor, when you are a civil engineer, how effective can you be able to render services? To which minimum number of people or clients can you at least be very effective on handling? A teacher is provided for that. At least for a teacher to be very effective, must have 1 teacher to 45. A doctor, the same. An engineer, the same. So equally, for a professional, the UN came up with such parameter to guide member countries who ratified the law or who are signatories to that law. But like I've said, there are even countries that have gone further because of the resource envelope. Yes. For example, we have some African countries. When you go to countries like Botswana, when you go to countries like Algeria, they have their population, they have their ratio far below that of Uganda. For us here, we were slightly above. I think when we looked at that population, it was around 800. So that still remained very high. But like I've said, although it is a perimeter, you may realize that there are even some villages or some sub-counties which may not have that. Now, in order for us to meet that minimum standard, the Uganda Police Force, guided and directed by the Commander-in-Chief, has come up with a model, the sub-county policing model. Which sub-county policing model presumes that we must be able to at least deploy a minimum of 18 policemen per sub-county. At least this will be able to cater for that. It is the very reason why you can see that the government has supported the Uganda Police Force in recruitment and training by providing us with the funds. A few days ago, I think it was last month, around 26, you saw His Excellency commissioning over 10,000 PPCs. All that number is being churned into the Uganda Police Force to meet that standard. And their deployment is at the sub-county. We have 2,091 both sub-county and town councils in Uganda. The deployment is catering for that kind of whatever. However, what is very important is not for us to forget our responsibility as Ugandans. Each of us has a duty as per the Constitution. As an LOC, the good thing is that you are now coming up to campaign. For those of you who were claiming your mandate is over, they were claiming their mandate is over, but they have never been able to surrender their stamps. They are only able to claim their mandate is over when it comes to to performance of their duties. Please, Ugandans, let's learn to execute whatever we are supposed to. Now, the good thing is that the Electoral Commission has sought for applicants to come and apply for LOC. This is an opportunity that I would like to use to call upon fellow Ugandans to go in for an election of able-bodied people, those whom you know will be able to provide security for your property, those whom you know will be able to cooperate with the police, those whom you know will be able to concertize you and build the spirit of neighborhood watch and build social cohesion at your level. Now, when that is done, police does not stand out alone in the provision of this. And maybe to come up with the sub-county policy model to illustrate on what I'm saying. Among the 18 police personnel who are going to be deployed at every sub-county, each of them has a role to perform. One is the the OC. There will be in charge CID, there will be in charge CL or in charge community mobilization, there will be in charge traffic, there will be in charge CI, then the rest will be then in charge child and family protection, then the rest will be conducting patrols and management of beat. The role of the CLO at that time is entirely for community mobilization, sensitization, and raising awareness on topical issues pertaining your surrounding, especially strengthening security at the community level. Now, what I need Ugandans to understand is that we have 3 rings of security. We have the first ring as being the individual or family security ring. That one is a ring that is managed, headed by an individual or the family head on behalf of those who are under him. He has to make sure that he guides his people or her people, because of recent we have now families that are headed by women, so that you guide your people on how they need to secure themselves. Caution them not to move at night. Caution them not to move with a lot of valuable. Caution them not to leave their valuables outside. You know, previously we used to have a lot of Bijambia in Masaka. And one of the issues we found out in Masaka, whereas people tagged that as Bijambia, these thugs were children of the villages who were using material at their disposal in the neighborhood to kill their victims. Take an example. People were abandoning holes outside, and these thugs would come and use the very hole. So it becomes very difficult when police is investigating. We begin asking, whose hole is this one? We only come to realize that it is a hole which belongs to the same family. They use a panga, which panga is abandoned in the compound. When you ask, it is a very panga which was used in the killing. They use bricks and target you and kill you. So that kind of laissez-faire and you don't conscientize yourself is typical of what a criminal can be able to use to access you. And the other day, I was counseling a professor. The professor had 10,000 birds in Iganga. And amongst those birds, he had the good thing is that he had constructed a perimeter wall. And the perimeter wall was quite high, which in any way you would assume that the birds would not fly. No, not that the birds would not fly, but the birds would not be stolen. But what happened? This professor failed to know that also managing a ladder was very important. So what happened? Thugs got to know that the professor had a ladder around. They studied the environment. They realized that the chicken houses were a distance from where the chicken attendants were staying. So they got access to the ladder, used the very ladder, climbed through, and went and robbed all the chicken, 10,000 of them. So he came seeking for a magic answer from the police. When we came to ask what was the mode of theft, one, these people definitely they came with a vehicle. We got a sniffer dog. It came around, but a sniffer dog was leading us to the ladder.
The ladder was the thief.
The ladder was the thief. So we asked him now, what did we do? He said, you do something. And you know, by saying you do something, he was invoking us to begin arresting and doing what. But we are saying the ladder here was a mode of operation for which these people used. So, what am I trying to raise in this matter? That the fostering of security of the individual, you need to be very conscious. Conscientize yourself.
Afande, I want you to take us through the two other rings of security. So
the other second ring of security
so
is
take a short break.
Is the community. That's when we bring the issue of the community leaders at different level, whether you are at the church, whether you are at business, whether you are border, whether you are the LOC, that is the community. Currently, that is where our biggest problem is. We have so many gaps in our security in both two rings, the individual and the community rings. The other ring is the national ring. Definitely this national ring is very, very strong because it is headed by His Excellency. Then the security, the service chiefs come in, and then we as staff officers also come in. This is very strong. That's why you can see that our borders cannot be easily be penetrated. However, our concerted effort right now is to put emphasis on those two rings of security.